the operator's like, I'm whispering, like, I'm like, this is, my name's Eric, I just called from this, I just called, because of what was going on. I was like, I already spoke with an officer. I was like, I just need an officer. And I was whispering, and she's like, what's going on? I was like, look, the thing is, I was like, I was an online radio host, and I think that's what's, coming back, to somebody that didn't like me. I was like, and then she was like trying to ask me all these questions. I'm like, look, just get an officer here. I was like, my life is in danger. I was like, I may be killed this instant. I was like, I need you to get here now. Like, my life could, possibly end right here and, right here and then. And she's like, okay, she starts telling me it's gonna be okay. She's like, just, stay in the hallway, stay down. Officers will be there as soon as possible. And at a distance, I heard the officers coming, and then one of the officers just got off, and immediately they started shining lights around my house, and they started looking for this guy, and they couldn't find him. They nowhere to be found. And I get there, and there's no one in my car, and I'm like, I didn't even have the chance to look if something was missing. I just I pressed to lock the door, and I shut it, and I went back inside. And I woke up this morning, and then my brother was telling me that while we were in the hospital, that he had saw somebody walking in my backyard, and that's what scares me now. Like, what if this person is back out to do the same thing, Like, my life could literally be in danger. Like, I could leave from here right now, and that person might be outside following me somewhere, and I might end up getting killed. Like, that's the fear that I have to deal with every day when I leave my house. Like, that's the reason I had the 5-star urgent response. Like, it makes me feel safe. I was interviewing people from like MTV, Oxygen, Fox, The X Factor. My show was becoming really popular. Like, Ford was doing commercials on that because I signed on to Blog Talk Radio. I became a featured host and everything, and they would be promoting me, and I had Allstate, Ford, and all these other agencies putting commercials on my interviews to and so I was profiting off of it. But then it got to a point where I got that job, that warehouse job, because that wasn't, that wasn't supporting me really good. So I had to get some more, another way of income. And I was like, I'll still be able to do both things, and it got to the point where I really couldn't. Every time that I, start to feel depressed and I start to think about hurting myself, or like even with the situation with my grandmother, like, I even thought to myself, the day that she dies, I'm taking my life too. Like, I have to stay strong in order to, achieve anything in life or to become anybody in life, because if I take my life away, then, what am I going to become? No one's going to know nothing. My story's not going to be heard, Anybody else I see that's going through anything, I'm like, stay strong, things will get better. So you just have to, believe that they are, You can't just keep thinking negativity, but, I know it's hard, and, I can't tell you to be strong, but at the end of the day, I can tell you I kind of know what you're going through at sometimes. Yeah, like, the only people that know, like, are my friends and, like, my classmates and family. Like, I never even posted it on Facebook. I've never told them, about it. Like, people on Facebook, some of them still believe that I'm a girl. Like, and I've never come out, as a guy, because some of them do know, some of them don't. Like, when I see some of my friends post, like, hey, like something that, gives the clue that I'm a guy, I immediately delete their comment. I delete what they're posting. I try to keep that all, like, I try to monitor all my social networks to where no one's going to post that, I'm a guy, because some people don't know, and I don't want them to know, I want them to know that I'm a female, and that's how I want to be, known. Even the first day, the supervisor thought I was a girl, and, he called me Erica, and I was like, no, my name's Eric. And then from then, I've always felt like a bad vibe from him. Like, that's why it was irritating, because, like, he would try to find, like, something to, kind of get me in trouble. Like, even there was a time once where he told me, I'm gonna go figure out if your aunt's staying, because she was my ride home. I'm gonna figure out if she's staying or not. And then I was like, okay. And then he's like, no, go home. And I'm like, okay. So I was going to the front to go get my stuff and everything, my lunch bag, and leave. And then my aunt's like, I was waiting for my aunt. She never showed up. So I went back into the warehouse. I went to go look for her, and she was still working. And I'm like, I went to go speak to the supervisor on top of him, and he's like, oh, well, if he told you to leave, then you're going to have to leave. I was like, well, can I stay? Because my aunt's the one, my ride. And he said yes, and I went back, and I went to the line where she was working at, and I told the lead in that line, I was like, hey, they said I could stay, this and that. So she calls the guy, the supervisor, the one that told me I had to leave, and he's like, no, send him over here, because he's lying, and that's just honesty and all this, like, trying to start something out of something that could have just been like, oh, no, no, you have to go home, try to make it into a big deal. And I told him, I was like, look, I was like, you're telling me that I'm a dishonest person, and I don't like that. I was like, you're questioning my integrity, and my integrity is like, I mean, if you question my integrity, that's the thing I hate the most. That's like one of my pet peeves. Like, if you question my integrity, you will immediately become to my bad side. Like, it really upset me. Like, I was so ready to just hit him there and slap him or whatever. But I thought to myself, I have to be the bigger person and, walk away. And he's like, well, next time it happens, like, you will be fired. I'd hear them talk behind my back, like people would tell me, oh, this person's calling you gay and faggot and this and that, But to my face, they'd be a different person, That's a point where they would, I guess you can say, just because of the person who I was, they would try to find anything to just pick on me. Like, if I was doing something wrong, I'd be like, I'd be on the band, putting stuff onto the band, to the belt to take it down to them where they're packing it at. And they'd be like, you're doing that wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that. And I'm like, I know what I'm doing. And they got to the point where, they won. They made me explode. I told them all, I was like, you know what, fuck you. Fuck all of you. I was like, I'm tired of you. It's like, you're pissing me off. I was like, I'm tired of all the shit I have to deal with you guys. I was like, you're putting me through hell. I was like, and I've had enough of it. I was like, it's getting to the point where one of these days, I was like, I'm physically going to hurt one of you. So she started, telling me, hey, be careful, this person is, saying this, or, don't talk to that person because I've heard they were saying this about you, and they're just being two-faced with you, I'm like, okay, so I would just ignore them, and, I'd be like, oh, they'd come up to me like, hi, good morning, how are you, and just, mind my own business. But then it got to the point where, like, there was for an instance, there was a day where I walked, I wear my tie jeans, and, one of the ladies there asked me, I was walking up to one line here, and she was on the other line. She's like, why do you wear those pants? She's like, they don't even look good on you. She's like, they look horrible. And she's like, you're a guy. You're supposed to be wearing guys' clothes. Why don't you wear guys' clothing? I went back at her, and I was like, well, they look better on me. I was like, than they would on you. I told her, so I was like, as a matter of fact, I was like, my mother gave me an ass. I was like, so I have an ass unlike you. I was like, look at you, you're flat, you have nothing. I was like, so if I were you, I'd shut the fuck up. It got to a point where I was no longer letting them, get to me. I was like, I would tell them in Spanish, ya deja de chingar. It means stop fucking with me, in English. I was like, because I'm not going to put up with any of this anymore. And they'd start, oh, you have to grab the packet, because, but yeah, when it was somebody else that was in the line, they'd let the packet fall. If it fall at the end of the belt, but it was me, they want me, grab the packet, you have to grab it. So, I was grabbing, and it got to the point where I just threw it one day. I said, you know what, fuck you, you grab it yourself. No, well, they would call me by my name, Eric, and that's not the name I wanted. My friend was some of the friends there would call me Erica or Stacey, but the supervisors would, just still call me by Eric. But that supervisor, when I went to that job, she was like, she never said anything. She never even called me Eric throughout the whole thing. Even on the paperwork, when I filled it out, she's like, just put your name and hand it over to me, and I'll take it over to HR and get it, But we're not going to say who you really are. And eventually, they started to find out, there was days where I wouldn't go dressed up because, we're working out in 100-degree heat. Everything I tell her, she's like, she tries to be very accepting of it, But it does come to a point where, she tries to stay legal, like within the school boundaries, where she doesn't address me as Stacey. She addressed me by my biological name, or she'll call me yes sir, or, and I don't like that. Because there's another teacher who's not there no more, and the one I'm telling you who's, trying to get me to write the letter and hopefully get the surgery, she would actually, let me write my name as Stacey on every test, every paperwork. I think I've cried so much I can't cry anymore.